podcast for those who suffer, which is everyone.
It's a space where we can speak honestly about what it feels like to be in desolate places without losing hope.
Welcome to In the Thicket.
Welcome to episode 5 of our Lenten series. This week we're talking about almsgiving. So when we talk about giving alms, it's not necessarily just financially, but it's also about giving of our time, of our effort, of ourselves to other people, and doing it in a way that stretches us, that really helps us to rely on God's providence. So we're talking about what that looks like today in our own lives, and then next week we'll hear about the example of St. Catherine Drexel. God bless you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hello, Lenten audience.
Hi, guys. I'm Rachel.
I'm Erin.
I'm Nicole. It's good to be with you guys. I was just imagining when you said hello, Lenten audience, like, what if as part of your Lenten penance, you decided to listen to our podcast about suffering for Lent? I wonder if anyone's doing that, because that would kind of fit, you know?
It
Yeah,
would kind of. There was somebody on YouTube. Oh gosh, I'll have to look up. I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. But she had said that it was kind of providential that she found our podcast right near the Lenten season. Yeah. So like, yeah,
Great.
Totally true. Exactly.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe we suggest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I thought, Nicole, you meant like as like a penitence.
Barbara.
You know, like,
Shout out
well,
to
that was
Barbara.
kind
Shout
of,
out.
you know.
Oh, hi,
Barbara.
Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
That's so awesome. So good to have you with us.
Mhm.
Yes.
But yeah.
I also want to shout out while we're shouting out here. Molly is a lovely friend from Nashville here in my CL small group, and she's been listening to our podcast for a while and was just sharing about it the other day. So hey, Molly.
Hi, Molly. That's awesome.
Yep.
I know a lot of Mollies. There's a couple of Mollies at school, like where I study. So this is the most Mollies I've ever met. Like I didn't know any Mollies before.
I don't know any. I don't know any Mollies.
And now I know of 3 Mollies.
Mm.
Wow.
That's cool. That's really awesome.
Mhm.
Great. Yay, Mollies. Anyways, but yeah. This is a thought that I've been having since. So for people who are listening and not watching sort of the YouTube version of this, Nicole has these really awesome funky glasses on, and they're so awesome. And every time we've recorded, I just have been wanting to tell you that, like, and I keep forgetting. So now on air, I'm just gonna be like, Nicole, I love
they're right. They're like bright red, kind of cat eye glasses. So if you imagine like a music professor, quirky kind of look, it's that.
It's so good. I love it. I'm all over it.
That was
I'm
before you
enjoying
got on. Yeah. I said that to Nicole right before you popped onto Zoom earlier today. I was like, I love those glasses.
Me too.
So much.
Thank
They're
you.
so good. They're so good.
They were my, like when we were shopping for glasses, I had coffee that morning, and I am not a coffee drinker because my brain is already kind of caffeinated and moving very quickly. But then I was really, I think I was just tired, or it was like I sipped some of Nathan's, whatever it was, I had a coffee. And then I was like, I'm going to get these glasses. So this is like my coffee choice.
Decision.
But I have not regretted it.
Yeah.
This
See,
is what
there
coffee
you go.
does.
You should switch to drinking coffee all the time. That's
I know,
the
you make good
sign
choices
from
on
heaven.
coffee.
That's right. Yeah.
Although
Nicole
I'm a
believes
tea
she's going to become a
drinker
tightrope
and-
walker and
That's right.
change of career paths. Yeah.
Just finish my PhD. Like I'll just write my dissertation in like 5 minutes.
That's
It'll
right.
just
Oh my
flow
gosh.
out of my fingers. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah, you guys, and I just also want to, because we haven't had our weather chat yet in our Lenten series, I don't think, which is like our Canadian.
It's overdue.
Yeah, that's what we do. And Nicole and I were just talking before, because as a Canadian, I mean, we have pretty firm seasons. Like, yeah, sure, our spring and fall is always it's the transitional time. So like, it's like there's warmer days and colder days. But like, if it's fall, it's spring, it's winter. But here it's like, I don't know what is happening because it's winter, but literally on Tuesday, and this is going to be in Celsius because I'm so sorry, I still haven't learned Fahrenheit, but it was like a summer day. It was like 23 degrees Celsius, which is a summer day. Okay. And then today I'm looking out my window right now and it is snowing. Like it's literally snowing. So it's like, it's cool. I don't have a problem with it. It's just so weird to me. I just don't know how to process it.
Well, and that's like the joke of every place for like, if you don't like the weather in Winnipeg, just wait 5 minutes or whatever it is. And you can say that about any place, but I can honestly say I have never experienced that to the same degree here, like in Nashville. We're similar. Like we had a day this week that was 26 degrees Celsius. Like it was a hot day. I did not wear a coat. I biked to work. It was warm. And now it's back to being like cold and rainy, and I don't know, the temperature is like 8 degrees or something like that. So it's not snowing per se, but still very
but
wide.
It's a big jump. Yeah.
It's a huge jump.
Yeah. There are days where it's like the high is 17 degrees Celsius, which is kind of like a cooler summer day. And the low is like 1 degree, which is close to 0, which is close to freezing.
Very large range. And if you convert it to Fahrenheit, it's even bigger range of temperatures.
Yeah, that's right.
We just have snow. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. We just consistency.
Yeah. We just the temperature has been up and down, which is nice. It hasn't been super cold this winter, which is kind of nice.
But Erin, for a lot of our, like where Nicole is at and where I live, when you say the temperature's up and down, you're still talking like generally below freezing, like up and down.
That's the thing. It's been like 9 degrees on a couple of days. Like actually
like
warmer
above
than usual. Yeah.
Okay.
So like it has been, a little bit more up and down than usual, but still, the snow has not left us since November when it started. So, and we're getting like the other day we got 10 centimeters of snow. The week before that, like we got like 25 centimeters of snow. This coming week, we're going to get, 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. Like it's not,
it's winter. It's here. It's legitimately spring here. Like the bulbs are coming up, the trees are flowering, they're budding. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's February. I guess it's spring now. Okay. That's fine. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. No, exactly. So Canadians in America, this is what's going through our minds right now. And speaking of Canadians and Americans, today, actually, this is going to be, we were a 2-part episode on Almsgiving, as we said last time. And so this kind of half, we're going to be talking about our experiences with Almsgiving. And then the next part, we're going to be talking about an American saint who for us is kind of, we've known about her, but we don't really know her very well, but Catherine Drexel. We're going to talk about Catherine Drexel. So,
so 3 Canadians talking about an American saint.
That's right.
So apologize to all Americans if we don't do
exactly.
justice. We will try.
Right. Yeah, that's right. But so to just kind of this episode, where we're going to talk a little bit about our Lenten practices with Almsgiving, but before that, I think every time we've done sort of this series, we want to dive into like why are we doing this? Why is this important? And it kind of seems obvious when you think like, a lot of people think of churches or religion or something like that, and like you should be good, you should be a good person and give of yourself to other people. And there's this kind of like, everybody kind of knows, even if you're not Catholic, that giving of yourself or giving of out of your wealth or your whatever is a good thing. But what's sort of, I'm just wanting to know from you guys, like, what's the spirituality that's like kind of, or not even the spirituality, what is the call? What is the call of the Lord, the deep, deep call of the Lord in almsgiving? Why is it so important? What do you think, Erin? Why is it so important?
I feel like it's like, I just actually talked to all the masses at our parish last weekend, the Sunday before Lent, because we were doing a chalice appeal. So if anybody's not sure what chalice is, I'll put a link in the show notes to it. It's an amazing, amazing organization. It's a child sponsorship organization that operates out of Halifax, Nova Scotia.
And they run their business in such a way. I think they're the only charity like that does child sponsorship that has an A+ rating in terms of the proportion of donations that actually go straight to the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Like 90.5% of your donations go directly to the child, which is unheard of. It's so they have very low overhead, and all the things that they do are in total conformity with the moral and social teachings of the church. So it's like I sponsor child through them because I know that I can trust where the money is going, and I know that it's not going to be used in immoral ways or things like that, which is important for me for where I give money to. But I was sharing kind of in my little testimony to encourage people to sponsor a child. So yes, go to chalice.ca if you'd like to sponsor a child. They have lots in need right now. But anyway, so I was sharing with people that one of the reasons why why it's been helpful for me to sponsor a child is actually because I have to trust the Lord with my money, because I
Mhm.
don't, I mean, I'm on a fixed budget currently, a fixed income currently. So it really is like, I don't have a lot of room to maneuver. And I mean, working for the church for the past number of years, like it's not a high paying gig, you know?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
it's,
mhm. What?
so
But yeah.
I know, right? You wouldn't think, but anyway, like it did entail me trusting the Lord in a really intentional way, but I was able to share with people actually how it's blessed me to like give the Lord, or to be able to support a child who needs it, and to have that money, and how the Lord has provided for me, like has shown his providence for me also, while
Mhm,
I'm providing for another person, you know? And so
Mhm.
almsgiving, I think, is that sense of like a couple of things. One is that it really does allow the Lord to show us his providence to us, like how he
Mhm.
cares for us, and that
yeah.
in like Saint Francis of Assisi said, it's in giving we receive, that really that is actually very true, and that the
Yeah.
things that we receive are not just monetary, like him caring for us in terms of financials and things like that, um but that but that it helps us to grow in virtue, like we
Yeah.
receive a growth in virtue and
Yeah.
in, you know, in all of
Mhm.
those things when we do give, but then
Mhm.
also it helps us to recognize that nothing belongs to us anyways,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
that's the major thing, is like
Mhm.
Mhm.
everything that I have comes from him. It does
Yep.
not
Mhm.
belong to me. It's
That's
Mhm.
his.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's the most radical to me, at least, yeah, in my experience with almsgiving or just giving in general. It's that is the most radical experience of like helping me realize, yeah, this is not, in a way, like this is not my money. Like it is. I mean, I have
Mhm.
responsibility over this. It is. It's not like, you know, I'm not like a universalist or something saying like it's everybody's money. Like, yeah, okay. But it really, in a deep, deep way, it really isn't. Like I was
Mhm.
given this as a gift for in so many ways. My work is a gift.
Mhm.
Everything in my life is a gift. This money came to me
Mhm.
from the Lord in various ways.
Mhm.
And it is for me to use according to his will, and it is
Mhm.
not for me to hoard or like, of course, like this is not a question about like you should save and you should, be
Yeah.
prudent with your money. Those things are really
Mhm.
important, um but not so that then you can sit on your wealth in a certain sense.
Yeah.
And it's also like you don't have to be wealthy to give
Yeah.
alms,
Right.
which is something we're going to be talking about a little bit more when we talk about Catherine Drexel. But
Mhm.
um, and again, it's not to pressure people into giving something that they don't feel called to give, but every one of us is called to give in some
Mhm.
way. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
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 I agree with all of that, especially I think it's so easy to equate money with security, right? Because
Hmm.
in some ways it does give us security, right?
Mhm.
But only in sort of an illusion. Well, it does. There's a practical element for sure,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And yet, as you said, like everything is a gift. And so even the security that I have with money right now or not, um, like Nathan and I talk about this all the time because we're newly married and we're also still in school and navigating the US healthcare system. Not even that we have like huge health things, but like anything that you have that's health is like costs a lot of money and all those kinds of things. And it's just for me, it's like it scares me. And I'm someone who's been like pretty good with money or pretty like I don't like spending money. I save a lot and all the kinds of things my whole life. And now, just like adulting, right? It's just
Yeah.
like more costs and it's complicated. And it's like I think I had come to a place of uh sort of knowing like some freedom with my own money and spending and stuff. But it's different when you're married. It's different when you're living in a different country. There's just more unexpected things. And so it's like a renewed invitation from the Lord to say, where is your security?
Hmm.
Is it in your paycheck or
Mhm.
is it in me?
Yeah.
And how can and so that's something I think I've been thinking about this Lenten. And I honestly haven't I can say all those things of like, yeah, this is what money means, and this is what, or this is what almsgiving means, but I don't know quite how I'm called to do that this Lent.
Yeah.
This is our,
Yeah.
so
I mean, one thing that I think that I've been thinking about is because I can relate a lot. I'm a student. I have a very have very little monies right now.
yeah.
As most students do. And I think that it's important. I realize it's important for me, even if I could just give like, I don't know, like $2, $5 somewhere
Mhm.
that I like,
Mhm.
I've realized just the act of making
Mhm.
the making that act of saying like this little bit is a very little bit.
Yeah.
But even then, like it's not nothing. It's not nothing to
Mhm.
me. And to give away this little bit, it's a reminder to me of all the things that Aaron was saying about, yeah, my money is a gift, my life is a gift, everything's a gift. And also what you're saying, Nicole, like, no, God, this is not God. Like I
Mhm.
don't need this in
Mhm.
the way that I sometimes feel like you do, so
Mhm.
it does help
Mhm.
you exercise. You should be prudent in your almsgiving as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's,
Yeah.
prudence in all things, like be
Yeah.
prudent in your
Right.
almsgiving as well.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the act itself can elicit sort of that recognition. And this is not my security. This is
Yep.
not, this
Mhm.
is, this is, God gave me this and I can share it.
Mhm.
I have that freedom. We talked about
Mhm.
freedom last, in the last couple episodes of fasting. And I think it's a really beautiful way to exercise, that life in the
Mhm.
Lord, that is the
Yeah.
real
Mhm.
place of our security.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
can share like a real example. You ladies already know about this, um I with disability stuff, it's been challenging in the last couple of years. Like I've been off work, and then in the last little while there was a question for me and for insurance about whether they would continue that kind of for the long term, and it was really stressful for a
Yeah.
long time. And it really, for me, it really kind of made me see in some ways how little that I trust the Lord will provide, and
Mhm.
how really it's that everything could be gone tomorrow. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what the situation is, right? You can lose a job, the country could collapse, and the economic, structures of banks could fall. Like in
Mhm.
Nigeria, for example, they just switched. Our pastor is Nigerian. He just came back from Nigeria visiting there for a month,
Mhm.
and he was telling us that the government is switching their currency. So they're going to use a different
Mhm.
currency. So they basically said to all the people, okay, you have until this date, you have to give back your any currency that you have. And then once we do that, we'll do the switch over and you'll be able to get it back in the new currency, whatever. Except something happened and that didn't
Oh
happen.
my
So nobody
gosh.
had any money,
Oh
and
boy.
banks were not giving out any money. Like you couldn't
Huh.
go out and get money. So people couldn't buy things. They couldn't buy medications. They couldn't buy food. They couldn't buy. So there's like this large scale. So it's not
Whoa.
actually out of the realm of
Mhm.
possibility for, like, we just
Sure.
Yeah,
never know,
Yeah,
And
there
so
that's
is.
right.
Yeah.
we just never know, And
Yeah.
so in my like particular circumstance with that, it was like this personal microcosm of like the bigger things that can
Mhm.
happen in the world. And it really it did give me a huge sense of like gratitude, like a new sense of
Mhm.
gratitude for the way that the Lord has provided and is continuing, because just spoiler alert, the disability stuff does continue, and so I am eligible for that, which I'm really grateful for. But it really does, it really for me kind of underscored that
Mhm.
dependence on the Lord, and how
Yeah.
grateful I am for
Yeah.
what is provided.
I think there's just a reality too of like um the resources, the access to resources that are available in the West, for example, like a credit card
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, are not, or just more kind of abundance or whatever the structures are. That's not the same everywhere in the world.
Mm-mm.
It's just not.
Nope.
And so I think something that I struggle with, it's sort of like a question that sits in my heart is, um, okay, I can be going through something that's difficult financially, and it's stressful, and it's true. It's a true stress, it's a true suffering, it's truly difficult. And yet, um, I've never gone hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never. Like,
Yep. Yep.
um, And that is a daily reality for so many people. And so can our almsgiving also recognize that and say, we cannot fix all the problems in the world, but can we, in our offering, can we acknowledge that we, is there a place for, is there a place for us to help? And how do we also reconcile? Oh, I forgot. I got lost in the question that I keep in my heart is, how do I reconcile that with the reality that someone else may have also be trusting in God and also maybe trying to rely on God, but they're still hungry. And how does that, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay. So I have the answer. No, I don't. I do not have the answer to that question.
But yeah.
But in one of my classes, we've been reading Gregory of Nyssa, who's the father of the church, and he talks about just kind of the path of virtue. One of the texts that we're reading, and one of the questions that came up for me was, he does this exegesis, this is his famous text on the life of Moses, and he talks about how the Egyptians, their punishment, because there's a famous passage in Exodus where it says, God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and it's like, what does that mean? And Greg of Nyssa is very adamant. Hopefully, God help me if I'm not getting this right or completely misrepresenting Gregory of Nyssa to anyone, but hopefully I'm understanding this correctly. And my understanding is that he says very firmly that Pharaoh first made a choice, like first moved away from God, chose to deny God in his heart, and God was honoring that. So when it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart, it was just an honoring of Pharaoh's free choice to turn away from God. And so then he comes up with this sort of and so the Egyptian punishments, like, they're related to our choices. They're related to sin. They're related to the fall, all of these things. And that sort of led me to a question of well, then, does Gregory of Nyssa, and he doesn't necessarily think this, but it was sort of the question of, are our sufferings directly related then to our choices in some kind of way? And this is a mysterious question. And specifically, I was asking it of this, of this father of the church and his theology. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but that is kind of the question, I think, that also crops up in us when we talk about stuff like this. Like, I'm trusting in the Lord. This other person's trusting the Lord. It doesn't seem fair that, they didn't do anything wrong, and yet they're in this situation. And what came out of this, our class discussion about my question of Gregory Nyssa was, it's not, the true suffering is the turning away from the Lord. That is the true suffering. So Gregory of Nyssa's point is, because he had a sister, this Saint Macrina. A lot of them were saints. This was a very amazing family.
Yeah.
And his sister, Saint Macrina, was very ill and died of a very, intense illness. But he writes about her life, and when he writes about her life, he doesn't write and say well, it's unfair. And she just kind of is able to live that cross with such freedom and such strength in the real, very real suffering that she's in. And so I think, this is not an answer to your question, Nicole, but it's a way in for me, where I think God is calling us and every human person to himself in their circumstances where they are. And I cannot fix their hunger. You cannot fix, the world is full of these sufferings,
tragedies.
You will always have the poor with you, like Jesus said that himself.
And we can't trivialize that. We can't say, well, God has special great, no, their suffering is unimaginable and unreal in some ways. But what I do believe is that God loves them, and his invitation of love is there somehow for them. And that, at least in some ways, I mean, at least in heaven, for sure, in heaven, you know what I mean? So and that's a cop out of an answer. But I think what helped me was this idea that the true suffering is the turning away from the Lord, that is the more devastating,
deeper existential kind of.
Yes. And it really is. So I think, sort of tie all this back to sort of the almsgiving thing. It's like, when we give alms, it's like we recognize, okay, and giving these $5 and sponsoring this child, and I'm not fixing the world. I'm not ending poverty or suffering, and as much as I would love to, but I'm recognizing that there is a way in which both me and this person are being held in the Lord's hands. And God has given me some responsibility in that, that I must fulfill because that's the way that I'm cooperating with turning towards the Lord, and really
Yeah.
loving as he's calling me to love.
Yeah.
And that person, just by enduring and living their lives, is in the Lord, because they don't have what I have to give in some ways, but they have themselves to give, and they are, because they're alive and they haven't given up, and
There's some
whatever.
like it's reminding me of going down to Jamaica and working with the missionaries of the poor down there, or in some places like often in places where there's more poverty, there's more joy. And I don't say that to I don't say that to glorify poverty or anything like that, but um but there is something that, and not just more joy, but also in a lot of ways more faith. Like even some of the people who you see speak, who live in the Ukraine right now, about the faith or the way that they've experienced God's providence, even in this time of I can't imagine, but there's something about having a lot, I think, that just gives this false sense of security. And it's really easy to just lean on that, kind of like what you were saying, Nicole, like just that we've never gone hungry, we've never, and there's like when we were visiting Jamaica and talking to a lot of the people, like the volunteers or some of the people who are living in the residents in the different houses and stuff, like the joy that they had and the faith that they had and the trust that they had in the Lord and his care for them and his providence was was unbelievable to me. And because we were working with some of the poorest people in in the country, and and it just, like, for me, that's one of the things that I've been thinking about almsgiving. So like when I think about what I'm doing for almsgiving this Lent, um a part of it was just looking at simplifying, like being simple and recognizing what I need and what I don't need, what I need and what I just want, like extra cream in my coffee, or just like little things like that. And just trying to live more simply, like not purchase so many things, not purchase a piece of clothing because I just want it, but actually thinking about if I need it. And like things like that. And then also the other thing that I was doing was, I go to mass downtown often at the basilica, and there's often kind of the same homeless people who are like, they'll come often to the same mass. So you get to know them a little bit and chat with them. And so I just started kind of making it a point to actually go to the bank, get like bills changed into like coins or whatever, so I have something to give, because very rarely do I actually have cash on me anymore, right? That, or to get like, I don't know, in Advent I got like some gift cards and packed whatever, like whatever it is, so that there's something that I can give. Yeah, because it's just a way of like it stretches me a little bit financially, but it's a good stretch. And then it also is developing that relationship with these people who are there, because one of the guys that I talked to, he makes the funniest one-liners. And so every week when I go back, it's like, hey, I got a new one for you. And it's like a joy, to be able to get to know him and the things that he shared about his son and about all these things. It's like the giving isn't just to give and absolve ourselves of responsibility, but the giving is to give and to develop a relationship.
Enter into a relationship. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think along the same lines, so I think absolutely financial almsgiving is important and it's difficult, but we have the example of the widow with the smooth tall coins.
Tall coins.
That was what was going to come to mind. The widow with the 2 small coins, who gave her, that was it. Sorry, you guys are a second.
It sounds so awesome.
The smooth tall coin. I know, there's
like
something
I'm
about it that
picturing a
just
cow
works, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So when I get excited, I did this in class
t-shirt
once
out
in a
of
while. Smooth tall coins.
Smooth tall
Anyway,
coins. If you know, you know.
there's a dessert. Okay, it's total sidebar. There's a dessert called shmoo that's very popular in Manitoba.
Ooh.
Would you know shmoo, Erin?
I do know shmoo, yes.
So it's like angel food cake, whipped cream, and score bits. I think that's basically.
Oh, that does sound really good.
It's very good.
Is score a candy in America? This is totally going off.
You can buy it in.
Is it here?
Because Nathan bought one in New York, but I don't think it's as common. He'd never eaten it before.
Yeah,
Very young.
I've not seen it anywhere, but it's
so-
so good.
Anyway, okay,
Yeah.
so the widow with the 2 small coins, who gives her whole livelihood. So of course that's important, and that's good. I'm also thinking about like in addition to that, like the gift of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, Nathan and I went to this conference last weekend, and we actually ended up volunteering at it because when we were thinking of going, they'd been sending out these emails saying like, hey, we need volunteers, because the conference it's free for attendees, but it's totally volunteer run and donation funded. So we volunteered, and it's really funny, the whole kind of spirit of this community is very much thinking like, what is the meaning of everything that we're doing? What like thinking, let's think more deeply. And so our volunteer training there was an hour session, and then there was another half-hour session of the official kind of volunteering. The first hour session was all on what does it mean to volunteer? What is the experience of what people had last year? And then in the half-hour one, 20 minutes of it was, and let's just remind ourselves, what are we, we're talking about the meaning of volunteering. And then in the last 10 minutes, they gave us they told us what we were going to do and all that kind of stuff. So it was just like, and there were other kind of smaller conversations where we were doing the practical stuff, but mostly it was this kind of, what does it mean? And as I joke about this, but it actually really challenged me because I was tired. I have busy weeks. I need rest. At least I feel like I do all the time. I mean, everyone needs rest. And to have a the whole weekend where I'm volunteering basically the whole weekend or traveling, and then I go right back into work. This was so daunting to me. And even I got there and I had a headache and I was just hungry and I was just kind of like grumpy and was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I just don't think this is going to work. I might have to not do it, whatever. But then I was like, okay. And it also CL is very much about, this is the thing, like volunteering means this, but verify this for yourselves. Is this actually true? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna test this, Lord, and I pray like, Lord, if you want me to do this, you got to give me the strength. And by the end of like our little training, I don't know, like, or the beginning of the weekend, as I got into the weekend, I just was filled with joy. I was tired. And I did have to go and get like gelato sometimes because they had gelato there to help me get through and things like that. But like there was such a joy, and it kind of shattered my perception of what I think that I need in order to function well. Because I was doing this thing. And so I think that's been challenging for me because time is hard for me to give right now. But this experience kind of taught me that it's important to give even when I don't think I have the time, and that actually allows me to give more fully and with less sort of holding back and controlled and trying to reserve and protect myself in my everyday life, in my job, in these things where I have that are legitimate kind of draws on my time. So I think that's another thing to consider too, is can we give alms and tithe and all of that? And also, how is God calling us to give of our time in a way that is equivalent to the widow with the 2 small coins, right? Where we give when we think that we don't actually have that, within prudence always, but
Yes. Yeah. No, I think I love that to me is a principle. I guess I should say all the other sort of, when we did prayer and we did fasting, we really were like, this is what we're doing. But it kind of seems inappropriate to be like, this is what I'm giving.
I'm giving $80,000 every month.
So this is
to
more
Rachel
about
D'Souza for her school fund.
What? That's so kind, Erin. Didn't realize disability in Canada was so generous.
Right. It's so lucrative.
Oh my gosh.
No, but I do think these principles are really what we're trying to, like, what are the principles that are motivating us? What is God like bringing into our lives in terms of things to think about? And that, Nicole, for me is such a good way to put it, what you just said, which was like, you said something about like, I don't necessarily need what I think I need, or like, so moving past. And I think that definitely, I mean, that is the widow with the smooth toggle. It really is. I'm sorry.
I keep laughing.
I just love it.
Cackle.
It's it's really good. But anyway, so that she gave, she didn't have the limitation of like, I need what I need, and then I will give after I'm taking care of myself and what I need and what my kids need. And this is actually a Mother Teresa thing who was in our, I think we talked about her in
Mhm.
Yeah, in our
Yeah, a
second
couple weeks ago.
episode. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
she says, like, I think she's pretty famous for saying this, something along the lines of, give until it hurts, or give where, and
I
Lo-
have
love
discovered
until it
the
hurts, right?
secret.
Love
If I
until it
love
hurts.
until it hurts, there can be no more hurt, only more love. Yeah.
And I think
Mhm.
that applies to giving also,
Yeah.
where it's
Mhm.
because
It
giving of your
should
time,
stretch us.
exactly.
It should hurt
Mhm.
in a way. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
not hurt in a sort of, you're in an
In a
abusive,
masochistic way. Yeah.
relationship
Mhm.
kind of hurt. But
Yep.
but it should feel like, because like you said, Erin, you're stretching yourself, you're living in a greater freedom, because
Mhm.
what's being stretched is this boundary that we have in our hearts and our minds, that what Nicole said, this is what I need, this is my limit.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
God sort of says, like, surprise, like,
Mhm.
no, it's
Guess
not.
With me, with me, you
Yeah,
can
with
do
me.
more.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
far more. So I think to let
Mhm.
God, and this is where sort of the prayer, connecting, fasting with prayer is what we did last time, almsgiving with
Mhm.
prayer as well.
Yeah.
But then, also just doing it, doing
Yep.
the giving
Yeah.
of your time, giving of your
Just do it.
tithing. Just do
Yep,
it.
just do it. Yeah.
Do
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Amen.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So on that note, we will pause for now and
Sign off for this week. Yeah.
sign off for this week, and we will catch up with you guys next week and talk about Catholic Capsule and more giving. So yeah.
That's right. Yay. All right. Thanks,
God bless,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of In the Thicket. If you like what you hear, give us a rating and hit that subscribe button. We have new episodes every Monday with more stories and honest conversations about life when the going gets rough, and the hope and humor amidst it all. We'd love for you to join our community on Instagram and Facebook at In the Thicket Podcast. While you're there, let us know how we can pray for you. God bless, and see you next week.